My big suggestion to students, particularly through high school, is
you can do anything.
Choose it for you, not for it is worth
it. Just focus on the next step.
Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Don't be afraid.
As long as you're doing something.
That is such good advice.
I don't think I could see myself doing
It's a
anything
challenging life.
Student nights, Wednesday to Saturday.
I worked on that house.
I racked up every single dollar of debt that I
I
possibly
think there's a lot of pressure on high school.
Yeah, I
kids
just
these days,
love working outside.
And if money is something that you care a lot
In
about.
hindsight,
I've also been a very indecisive
But you
person.
keep looking for roads that have been less
It
travelled.
was just that moment that I knew what I wanted to do. So nothing else is going to change that.
Welcome to the guest speaker.
Well, let's do this, Victoria, because I can't wait, because I can't believe how many people recommended you. So this interview in particular started for me. I was sitting interviewing some senior kids at a local school about their careers, and a number of things came up, but the beautician one came up. Almost every fourth girl had it on their radar. And of course, here was this 50-odd-year-old male sitting there going, oh no, what am I going to do? Like, this is not me. But of course, this is what this show's all about. It's grabbing, acknowledging either at schools or parents or teachers, I'm not the most qualified. Let's find the most awesome person we can. And I put my feelers out. I literally often just Google and go, who is the best beautician, engineer? And then I just try my luck. I saw your name a few times, and then one of the ladies I contacted said, Victoria is the one you want. So look, I'm sure this advice for these it was all young girls. I'm sure there may be males as well, but and you may talk to that later. When I interviewed them, what struck me was the more questions I asked them, I think the less they knew. I think they had the concept, they love to look beautiful, or they liked the concept. They had no idea what the job entailed. And I think it was really important for them to realise, and that's why I want to take this back to them and all the other young girls who want to do this and go, but this is the reality of the job. Background to you that I've found out, if I get any of this wrong, you'll correct me later. You became office assistant at age 18 after moving from Raglan to Hamilton, where you were sort of off a farm, I gather.
I was. Farm girl through and through.
Wicked. And were you at Raglan area school, or did you go?
I was in Toye, which was even smaller.
Oh, okay.
Toye primary and intermediate.
Wicked. Then you have, at some point in your life after 18, you have this off-the-cuff conversation at work that led to a decision around studying beauty therapy. And like many, you loved makeup, nails, massage. You'd practice on your mother or whoever would oblige. Eventually, you attended the elite School of Beauty and Spa, graduating in 2005 with a level 5 professional face, body and spa therapy qualification. When I was looking for someone special, this is where I think the next bit that jumped out. You're the owner of the Darling Room, and you've been in business for over a decade. You employ multiple therapists, almost two. So yeah, look, this is brilliant. So you're a businesswoman, you're an entrepreneur, but you have the skill sets of the beautician, and you featured in the Up 100, which is a celebration of 100 graduating tertiary students across Australasia, and you were one of them where they told your story, because essentially you're really exceptional at what you do. So the Up 100 is something I'll touch on later. You've shared your story there, but we're lucky enough to have you live, so that's even better, I'm going to claim. Just before we get you talking, who is this for? Obviously, it's for aspiring beauty therapists. I think there's no doubt about that. It's going to be also for business people, kids anywhere, even other adults who are thinking, do I go on my own? And what are the challenges to that? It's also for therapists who want to take maybe the next step. So they've started, but they're thinking, where do I go and where does technology take me? Or can I get advice from someone like you? And people who just love beauty, fashion, and making people feel good, because you're essentially in that business of, making people feel rather special. Thank you and welcome to the guest speaker. I can't wait to hear everything you do. Yeah, can I take you back to you as a young girl, like the girls I interviewed? What were you like at school? What did you love? What did you enjoy? And how did it go for you?
Well, thank you so much for having me and for the introduction. I think schooling was very interesting for myself. I came from an extremely small primary and intermediate. I think we started with around 30 children for primary school, and probably had intermediate close to 60. So that transition from a small country school where I didn't have a lot to do with town, coming into 1,700 children, it was on the bus, an hour each way we would travel, and it was a shock. It was dropped into a pond and realized I probably didn't know how to swim very well. And I was lucky. I had some amazing teachers in my first year who really understood that I had been given amazing life experiences in my primary school and intermediate, and I'd been given great creative opportunities. Unfortunately, they had not really succeeded on the math English side of schooling. And one of my teachers, Miss Wong, when I started, she was incredible. She got me a scholarship to be able to go and do a year's worth of tuition for free. It's hard those years because they really do cement you as a person. And if you kind of come into the situation where you're like, oh, you're really not very good at this schooling thing, it can kind of sort of start to play on you as a person, like, oh my goodness, like I'm not quite adequate enough in that area. Like, what do I do? And the school was amazing because it did really support the girls on so many creative opportunities. We had amazing drama programs, we had amazing hospitality, and I think being able to look into those areas that weren't just hyper-focused on the academics was what really sort of saved me in a high school, being like, right, okay, I want to do something hands-on. I'm not going to go to university. What is available to me in as a career?
So you didn't start contemplating that early, Victoria. You were. It was a thought process as a teenager.
It was.
Still leads me to a point at some point, and I need to consider my options. It was.
Yeah, it really does. And I think even now there's so much pressure on the girls to, to everyone, decide what are you going to do? Where is your career path going to transition to? What does that look like for you? And most of us just didn't know. There were a few special people that were great at academics. They were off to university. They were going to be teachers and accountants, and I couldn't think of anything worse. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember there was an opportunity that was available at school where you had to pick a camp, and it was compulsory. I just wanted to stay home and be on the farm. I didn't want to go away on a camp. And my mum forced me to go into school and do a camp on beauty. And every day she brought me into town, and the camp was at school and it was on beauty. And I was like, this is actually kind of fun. Like, but
Is this a youth you're running it, or?
It was the school. Yeah, it was the school. They had a day camp, and it was all beauty focused, and we would do makeup, and some of it was a little bit, like, oh gosh, no, I don't know if that's for me. But it really sort of did make me think, oh, is that actually a career option? Because being out in Raglan, I'd never been to a beauty therapist, whereas a lot of the young girls these days with social media are very conscious around beauty and beauty standards and what's going on. So I think they're a lot more, like you said, they see it and they think that's a career opportunity, but then what does that actually look like? So it was back then that I sort of started to think, okay, yeah, no, that could be for me, but is that going to be a career?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I bet you that wasn't the intent of the camp. It was a little bit like we're probably going to have 30 leftover girls who don't want to go kayaking, so we'll make something up. But it's often those things. It's like you take them on a bike trip, and next minute the kid might go, I could fix bikes, or I could cycle, or go surfing, or like we just had Lou who was shaping boards. Sometimes it's those funny things at school that just capture you. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And when those can then transition, if the school can really pick you up and be like, oh, you like that, let's enroll you into doing makeup in the production this year. Or, we had Girls High had a very good connection with the Polytech. and being right next to us. So they would say to us, if there are opportunities for you go and have a look at what the massage courses are operational over there. Let's take you out of school and have a little walk through. And I think all those sort of little bits and pieces sort of fell through to me to be like, okay, that it is actually a career.
Right. So how far through school did you get, and how did your transition out of school go for you? How did you find it, and what did you actually do?
I think with school, it was really just it was a placeholder for me. It was right. I don't know what I want to do, so I'm going to stay until I can't stay anymore. And I think it was about year 13, and I was in probably term 1, possibly in term 2. And my dad was like, "Look, you're not off to university. What are you going to do?" And even still, then I didn't really want to commit to something. I felt like I wanted to have a little bit of an experience in the working environment, maybe step into town and out of Raglan for a little while and just experience life going from those teenage years into that adulthood. And I think that was really beneficial for me to be able to hop into a work environment and just see what it's all about, show up at a job, have a commitment and really be accountable as an adult to work. And then it wasn't until I was sort of in that role, and I loved that role. It was so much fun being an office junior and receptionist and helping out. But still on the side, I had such a passion in the industry. And between my work colleagues and my mum, and they were like, for goodness sake, like it's a job, like, you know, let's look into it. That's you know, being around people and being able to have an impact on someone's life. I think I wanted to do something in that sort of care role. So, and that was when, beauty therapy was like, I can do this. I can go to Elite and, you know, I'll make a career out of it. And then going to Elite and really understanding where the little things in school I love, like the biology side, you know, women's health, anything like that, it's sort of all just kind of being like, right, everything that I've enjoyed in my schooling has sort of led me to this part. I'm in the right spot for myself.
Other than Victoria, that little camp you went on, looking back, would there have been some real red flags that this was probably where you were going? Were you, and I don't mean to, you know, were you beautifully made up? Were you really good with your appearance and the clothes you wore? Were you quite obviously that way inclined, or were you tomboyish?
Oh, definitely. I think everyone sort of knew that was my career before I did. You know, I had this little basket at home and it had every nail product that you could possibly own in this basket. And I used to sit at night while my mum was watching the news and I would fiddle around with her fingers and her toes and have them shaped and massaged and painted. And, you know, if I was out with friends, I'd be doing their makeup and all that sort of thing. So I think I was probably the last person to realize that that was for me. And I don't know whether I thought I sort of had this sort of experience with a career that it had to be something massive. Like, you know, there was like, I had to be doing something huge and impactful. And it wasn't until I really realized the importance of a beauty therapist and the therapist side of that position. I was like, wow, this is an important role. And I think one that often gets overlooked is how important in society, you know, those kind of careers are for the girls.
Well, and before we go in there, sorry, Ludlam, I'm curious, like when you go, okay, I want to apply to Elite, what other options are there? Do you have to have a portfolio? Is it like art? Like how did you apply and then get accepted to Elite?
So we were, Elite was only operational in Auckland at the time. And then we had the Polytech in the Waikato. So I had looked at both. It was a 2-year course at the Polytech, and it was a 1-year course with Elite. Elite seemed to really sort of pinpoint a few more things that I wanted in the course. So I contacted the Auckland establishment, and they said, look, we're actually opening up a Hamilton-based institute next year. So if you want to be a part of that, so it was really just an application. They did interview you to see, if this career is the right one for you. I know a lot of girls, when they contact myself, they sort of ask the question, do I go elite? Do I go the Polytech? And does it matter for you, somebody hiring students? And my answer is almost always no. I think regardless of the course that you do, if you take on the career the way that it is intended, you will flourish wherever you go. And if you can get yourself into a really supportive role, first off, out of studying, and really use that time to sort of absorb as much as you can, then that's it. And wherever you go, I think if it's the career for you, you'll have a great time regardless. And I've probably got a 50-50 division in who I've hired over the years of both elite and Polytech. So
Can we clear up for those girls who I suggested they didn't maybe know what they were getting themselves into? Now they're going, oh crap, I'm going to go learn something. I didn't know I was going to be at school. What does that learning, what is the Polytech or whatever the course, elite, what are you learning? How much do you pay? How rigorous is it? Are you writing essays or is it all practical? Can you lead us through what that student or adult would go through?
Yeah, and I think the financial side is something to take into consideration for the girls. Elite being a private institute, it was a lot more money than with the Polytech. I believe the way, because I was speaking to a new graduate recently, and she said there are a lot more grants and things that you can do to get that cost down. So the financial side was definitely one thing, but I was very willing to get a student loan, and I found that absolutely fine. As far as the school goes, they really want to tick off the different aspects of beauty. So you go through the waxing, the facial, the nails, the massage, the hands-on. And then there's a lot, which I think the girls maybe aren't aware of. There's a lot of anatomy and physiology. A lot of it refers back to the same, similar to first-year nursing, for the things that are applicable to us. There are a lot of contraindications for people in beauty therapy. So you have to really understand the body. Biomechanics when you're doing massage is really important. So although there's a lot of information to learn, they do it in a way that is very accessible. It was scary for me being like, oh no, I'm back at school again and I'm going to be put to the test. No, I think it's different because when you're really passionate about that area, it's so interesting. When you're learning about the endocrine system from a point of hormones and how this might affect polycystic ovarian syndrome, and then that relates to hair growth patterns and understanding all of that, then you're kind of like, oh, this is it. This is great. This really applies. The science applies to me and what I want to know. It's not when you're sitting down doing your math test or you're learning about dinosaurs and you sort of think, oh gosh, is this ever going to be put into use?
Can you give us some more of those examples? I was just fascinated. I had no idea what you were actually saying because it sounded like I was back in biology. It's a lot more complicated than, yes.
It really is. And I think that they being able to give you that base information really sets you up to be able to go and treat people accordingly. If you want to get into skin disorders and how the body works, it really is a whole. So being able to understand a woman's hormones and how that might be affecting things is really important. If you're going to go into laser therapy, then you really sort of have to understand, am I giving the client the right advice for the hair growth that they specifically have? And then I think even it goes into a little bit with products, understanding chemistry and how those products are made up, how active ingredients work. So it's such a broad subject, and a lot of it is really up to you when you leave school to be able to go and jump into the areas that you want. But the schoolings do a really good job at giving you enough information that they can set you up, that you can go through and really hit the ground running. I think a big part that I think is important is being able to get into a clinic as soon as possible. So I was only at Elite for maybe one term when an owner of a salon came and said, "Can I have a junior therapist from your role to come and work after hours?" And my name got put forward. And that was incredible because I really got to, whilst I was studying, I got to experience hands-on what the clinic was. First, just watching and observing and folding towels and doing washing and cleaning the rooms, but talking to the therapists, seeing their day-to-day life, seeing how they interacted with clients. And then I got to practice on the clients and practice on them, because if they had a gap, they're like, "Oh, Victoria, can you massage my back?" So having that was really key. And I even say to the girls now, if you're not sure if it's for you, if you can ring around some salons and say, "Hey, can I just come and observe? Would you mind if I did a little bit of free work experience for a weekend?" And just put yourself in the clinic, because you very quickly get to see the girls interacting with the clients, and you get to see behind the scenes and running around and how busy they are and how much they have to move. If being on your feet all day isn't for you, and having to, show up for your clients regardless of how you're feeling isn't for you, then, that might be enough to be like, okay, maybe that's not my career.
Lauren, you might be about to say it, but the therapy part is really getting me already. And I could be misspeaking, because I know, again, there's all these different niches, but I think about, less so a beautician, but when we had the makeup artist at my sister's wedding, for example, we were nervous and we were this, and she just came in, and that was probably my first experience with someone who was like beautician in the space. And everyone was giggling and laughing, and she just the EQ was unreal. And then you move through, and like you said, they might be assessing you, and they're looking at your pigmentation and different like multicultural elements that come into here or this, but at the same time making you feel very safe and welcome and calm. So like, talk to me about that EQ part and how much came from probably the clinic and being exposed to that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it did. I think I've always had a very empathetic side, where I've wanted to sort of put people at ease and help. That's kind of my love language, is that sort of acts of service, like, well, what can I do for you? Great. So it was the perfect fit. And I think you need to have that in this kind of hands-on therapy role. It's an acts of service job. It's one thing enjoying to have your makeup done, go for your nails and have a facial. It's very different to be doing that. I don't get a lot of services done. I can't remember the last time I had a treatment myself. Being able to really enjoy the side of that emotional connection with your clients, being able to, that fun part of your day being like, I might be the highlight of someone's day today. What can I do for them? And one thing that I stress with all of my new hires is that regardless if it's a 15-minute brow shape or someone's coming in and spending $500 on a 4-hour package, like, we give them that space for them to be able to have that time and that rest and that attention. And, we make that a priority for them, because whether it's a little bit of money that they're spending, a little bit of time, or a lot, that can be that one thing that week that client's really looked forward to. And I think, being able to really come in and work with people on that emotional level is a huge part of beauty therapy, and it can be draining as well. So really knowing for you how to protect yourself and how to keep your own needs in check, being in a really supportive work environment, having girls around you that really support you, that all of that is really important. Creating that salon philosophy where we're all trying to do our best, and we have to give grace to our therapists and our work colleagues as well as our clients and things like that, even when sometimes, we're not in the headspace to do it.
So can you give me an example? So Grace walks in. Do you just look, like, if it was an open checkbook or something, she says, "I'm about to embark on a program." What do you do with a young woman or an older woman when they come in? Do you assess them? Do you ask them specific questions like, is it the lines under your eyes? Is it?
I probably get in trouble for asking too many questions because I get sent a lot of skin disorders. So there is a lovely naturopath, Jenny in Hamilton, and she sends me a lot of skin disorders that she's working with internally, and then they come to me for an assessment as well. And I think the skin disorders is something in my career I decided I really wanted to follow. When I started my own business, it really gave me the opportunity to be like, what does my salon want to look like? How do I want to help girls? And what do I need to do? And I think when you've gone through the training institutes and you've had your skin absolutely ripped raw throughout the year because you are the model, you are having it all done on yourself, most of us end up with some form of acne. And I had it very bad through here, and I went deep dived into what I wanted for my salon as far as skincare wise. I came across Janine Tate, who's an amazing beauty therapist. She does dermal nutrition, holistic care over in Tauranga, and she really set me down a path on holistic health, which is what I do now a lot with how I deal with skin disorders. So when somebody comes to me with a skin disorder, it is a lot of questions, because things like disordered acne, they come from a multiple stem of sort of that perfect storm in women. And it's my job to sort of help them realize that it could be the diet, it could be the stress, it could be what you're doing topically, or it could be hereditary, and being able to sort of go through all of those. So there's a lot of consultation in our industry when you are dealing with skin, because you're coming to me because you don't know, and I want to be able to educate you so long term you can get the results that you want. There comes a lot of information gathering, and then just being able to relay that information to the person so they know how to best care for themselves. And it might not be something that they have to do topically. It could be something that they have to look at for nutrition. And that's just one of the aspects of beauty therapy that you can go down. You could have an interest in nails, lashes, you could do brows. There's a huge makeup, doing bridal makeup these days. I think if you can get into a clinic that gives you a somewhat wide variety into the industry, and then really hone in on what you want to do, and that's something I do with the staff as well. I'm like, what interests you? What training do we need to do now that is then going to grow on that? Because the school gives you a base, but it is just that. It is a base. And it's really up to you to be like, actually, I love massage. I really want to work to treat appropriately. What do I now need to go and do in order to do that? And it's so much available to young therapists once they've graduated, to be able to just pick an area of expertise.
Yeah, look, I'm really enthused at what you're saying, because my fear was, I don't know why, it was my naivety. I thought these young girls were just going to end up in one of those shops on the main street doing nails, toenails. And I was like, no, I think there's more to this. And clearly there is. There is so much more, and it's high end, it's technical. Can I ask on that note, what technologies, there's laser, I don't even understand what that does. What technologies do you use now, or do you see coming in?
I think as far as modalities for skincare, there are trends come and go very, very quickly. I think what you have to really understand is the skin at an anatomical level. So you really have to deep dive into the tiniest section of the skin and understand what it's doing. Why are we producing oil? Why do our hormones affect our skin? What is pigmentation? Where does it come from? How do we do it? Once you understand all of that at a very, very base level, then you can then go into different technologies to address it. I think it is hard in some clinics if you sort of do just sort of show up for your job. They teach you how to work a laser machine, and that real understanding of the why behind it isn't done. So sometimes it really is on the girls themselves to be able to go and jump into that knowledge. But laser is a very big area of beauty therapy. You have microneedling, which helps to remodel the skin. It's sort of wound healing at a certain degree, which is also where peels come in. We want to very measuredly cause a wound to the skin that then the skin has to basically renew, send everything, and that's going to help with aging and things. You've got a lot of appearance medicine now coming in as well, which is sort of a separate sign, but I do know of girls that have then gone on to also do their first 3 years in nursing to be able to do appearance medicine. There are always a lot of tech available to you. It's just really where you land in your job and then where you decide to want to push.
Yes, I have a concern. Maybe not everyone's going to end up with someone like you. And so, I liked what you said. It's up to them, why am I using this laser? Do they go away and actually do maybe some research or reach out to others? But then are you qualified to do your Botox and all of that stuff? Is that, or do you not do that?
No, that you do need to be a qualified nurse in order to go through and do anything injectable. But, you see it in media quite often when beauty therapists land into trouble with causing scarring, causing, there's been a huge uproar in Auckland with nail techs not having the proper sanitization, causing staph infections, amputees. So, unfortunately, beauty therapy is not a monitored industry. There are little to no regulations. So it really is up to each individual salon to uphold an ethical standpoint and train their therapists accordingly and have a hygiene standard that is appropriate, because it's a little bit of a cowboys season out there, which is the sad side.
I'm quite curious, Victoria, at what point, and this is a bit of a sidestep, but there are a lot of maybe, like you said, clinics that are cutting corners or doing things just to go mass. For you to go, no, I'm going to open this boutique, high standard business, that's a level up further. And then to be hiring people and apprenticeships, etc. What was that decision making of you to go, I don't just want to clock in and clock out, I want to make my own space? Was that from the get-go, or could you just talk us through, please, that?
I think it was really probably my own journey of both very bad skin, slightly difficult mental health at times, and being like, what's going on that's causing this? And when I met Janine, and she had a very specific idea of what beauty therapy is, and she has this term of slow beauty, and it's really just stepping back, having a look at this broad picture of what's going on with ourselves, and then understanding all those aspects that could really be influencing this whole person, both physically, how they look, but also emotionally, and being able to help with that, being like, right, I can do this. I can do it to myself. I healed myself. I did it to clients over and over again, and that really cemented for me that, this isn't actually topical at all. I can't sell this person a cleanser and a skincare program to get rid of their acne. I actually have to educate them on why they are in this situation and how to get themselves out of it. So essentially, they don't need to rely on me. They've got those tools, and I'll have clients that I've, done skin disorders years ago, and every now and then they'll message me and they'll be like, I'm the problem. I know it's me. I've done this, this, and this, but I'm going to start coming in again. And I'm like, perfect, I'm giving them the tools to really be able to work nutritionally with them long term, really trying to understand sort of hormones and gut health. And that was the area of beauty that I really loved. And then I was able to sort of build my clinic around that. Actually, laser devices probably aren't for me. High-tech facials, peels, microdermabrasion, that doesn't actually sit with my understanding of what the skin needs to be happy and healthy. So I think that real critical thinking of what am I trying to achieve, does that sound like that's something the skin needs? No, it's not. And then what can we do from a different point of view? So it's sometimes hard trying to communicate that to clients. Like, I can't give you anything that's going to work. Yes, you can go on a Roaccutane and take a pill, which will be a short-term solution, but I'm very willing to help you. This will take a year, and this will take you reassessing how you live your lifestyle, but you will have success forever over that.
I mean, it's just fantastic hearing you say it, and it's that whole thing about the holistic, and you think physiotherapist, right? Everyone knows you can't just go to the physio and then not do your exercises at home, because then you turn back up and they're like, you didn't do it. And this is why it's so cool we're interviewing you. Just the other day, I had a friend and I said, how does pimple actually happen? Like, I just realized, I was like, I'm 26 and I don't actually know. And she got out her phone and drew, and like, yeah. And I was like, what? Because I think the same, especially proactive, was really big when I was coming up. It was, okay, you're going to do the cleanser, then you're going to tone, then you're going to moisturize, you're going to do all these things. And then you do the classic, let me just stop putting all this stuff on my face and start from fresh. And then, and you're not in your head because it's just like, people, because that's the trendy thing to do, or that's what you think you should do because you saw your mum or your sister do it. But it's so unique to each individual. And so what you're doing, I just love, because it's educating and empowering that person, almost making you a little obsolete because they're so educated, but then they come back and they want to upskill. I think it's such a cool thing you're doing.
Yeah, and if you can really explain to clients that sometimes the most basic of skincare, but done in a beautiful way, like the brand that we use, Janesse, it's a seed to bottle range where there really isn't anything like it on the market, and you have these high tech cosmeceutical ranges, and I can't get the results with those because they're too overstimulating or they're not used in the right way. And being able to really have a range that nurtures the skin, takes it a step back, gives it what it needs, which is in most skin situations just hydration. Our skin will do what it needs to do if it's given the right situation. Same with our liver. Our liver's an amazing detox. You don't need to go and do a detox. It will do what it does if you're not putting what you shouldn't in your body. The same with physio, your body mechanics, they will do what they need to do as long as you're not putting them under inadequate stress with recovery. So your skin is the same thing. Yeah, you need the right ingredients, you need to give it the right care, and you need to have the right recovery. And I think if you can sort of educate people into understanding that, and from a young age, which we now see with mums bringing their daughters in and really giving that information from a young age, then it's an amazing part of the career that has kept me in it, essentially. It's why I'm still doing it, and it's why I'm still hands-on in the business, because you do constantly get to help people, and it's something I love.
And they take pride in it, right? Like, I use my hair oil in the morning and at the night, and I feel so sophisticated. And so, right, and like, that's so basic, but it's that whole, we used to say in rowing, look good, feel good, row good. It's the same with like how you just can carry yourself. If you feel like I'm taking care of myself, a bit of self-respect, all of that bolsters in, and it goes back to what you said about the therapy part of this. It's making people feel good and walk taller, right? And more educated.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity that we have to have an impact in people's daily lives, which a lot of people never get the chance to. And I mean, the friends that you make in the career is interesting. All the friends that I have now started out as clients, because you're in this extremely intimate setting that you'd never be with somebody else. When you're waxing, when you're spray tanning people, when you're dealing with their skin disorders, and you're really they have to sort of have this amazing trust in you to be able to even come in the first place, let alone take their clothes off or really understand. And you have to have the patience and the empathy and just that sort of understanding that you have a very special connection available to you with your client. And when you can do that as a therapist, you have an amazing career, because once somebody feels comfortable with you, that's it. They're yours. They're not going to go off down the road for something $5 cheaper or run in because they need something. They're going to look for your books, and you're going to be able to sort of build your clientele and have a really successful career because you've really understood that. And yeah, if that's something about the industry you're not so sure on, that's a huge part of it. So I would say to the girls, like, you have to have that care, that want to nurture as part of it.
You also strike me, Victoria, you're very lucky with your reputation that you can be honest. I suppose starting out, you could, like, there must be times when someone walks into a doctor's surgery and the doctor must think, well, if you lost 40 kgs, we might, not have, but they don't, it's never raised. It's the elephant in the room. Whereas you're saying, I'm quite happy to look at the elephant and say to you, do you drink water? How's your health? What are you eating? Before we worry too much about the face. But that does come with experience and reputation.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I sometimes catch myself in the salon and being like, don't talk like I just did, please, to my staff. No, please don't say that, because I think when you are recommended to somebody, you already have like a little bit of their trust. So you can be like, look, and there are people that I say, look, this is what we do. We look at your stress, we look at your nutrition, we look at your topicals, and we look at your environment, what you're doing for exercise, and we sort of assess all these areas where potentially inflammation could be driving in, and that's going to get us the results. Do you want to do that? And they'll be like, absolutely not. And I'm like, perfect. So I think now I'm not so much sort of scrambling trying to help them, and what if I give them this for free, and what if I make this easy for them? Actually, no, I'll keep your coffee. You really, really like that. I don't want to take that from them. And now I'm like, right, here we go. I know this works. If you give me the time, then I will give you the results.
Do you reckon is like the biggest misconception as it, like, in your role in the industry? And like, the industry is very broad, but as beautician, beauty therapist, what is like a big misconception, not just for these girls coming into it, but even just you found moving through it, that you think would be nice to clear up?
I think even they said it when the girls sort of think they might just sort of be sitting there tweezing some eyebrows and doing some lash tints and filing some nails. It's a huge industry. So I think sometimes even the girls are surprised when they go into study, that they're like, wow, do I have to learn every muscle, every bone, every vein, every lymphatic node? Is this why I'm in it? But really, essentially, yes, you do. I think you have to really well know the body, because that's what we're working on daily from top to tip. I think a lot of probably the misconception comes from people outside of the industry being like, oh, you do beauty therapy, that's cute, and really behind it is, you could have just done a 90-minute sports massage on somebody that's recovering from a broken back, so it's a lot deeper, I think, the industry than what it's sort of given credit for. I think it's an incredible industry. I know with myself, even having a family was very important for me. So I wanted to be in a job that I knew that was going to be a possibility. So when I started my business, I was not engaged, and I was renting in a house, and I went to my landlord and I said, do you mind if I take a room and completely renovate it and work from home? And she said, oh no, that's fine. So, I was renting, and I redid and I created the darling room, and it was one room, and it was a darling little room. It was completely top to toe glitzed out, and you sort of stepped into this room and you're like, wow. And then I outgrew that, and I got some land and built a purpose-built house where I could employ somebody. So we moved into there, and I was married at this stage, and I sort of had wanting to have children in mind. So I got on a therapist, and she's still with me now, like 14, 15 years later. And she took over the business while I went and had children, and I came back and I got staff and left. We then transitioned out of that house to a full salon in Richmond Street. And she then went away and had children. I filled in her position and staff came and went, and now she's had children and she's come back. So, we've been able to, and my one part-time and my one full-timer both have children, and we make the hours work for them. And again, if you can really grab hold of the career and make it something special, you will find salon owners that will keep you, and they will make the hours work for you with school holidays and sick days and things like that. And that's been amazing. And it's that give and take. I feel for my staff, if I can give them that security and what they need and what's really important for them, then they will do the same for me. And the staff I've had now, of two I've had for over 6 years, and then the one I've had for 12, 13 years. So I think that's a really big part of it.
Do you have men in your industry, or do you have many men come in for?
We have a small client base of males. I do a lot of massage at the salon as well as my skin disorders. I really enjoy massage and the body and how the biomechanics of how that works. So I do a lot of male massage. And we have a few that are very into their sort of, upkeeping their eyebrows and things and waxings, but it's definitely a woman-based industry, and I don't think there are any male beauty therapists, just because you've sort of got that, you've got that very one-on-one closed away in a room, whereas I think males tend to get more into hairdressing and even nail techs, even makeup artists. It's a little bit more... It's a little less intimate than the beauty therapy.
What can, Victoria, just before we start wrapping up, what could young girls do when they're at school to, I don't know, enrich their skill level, to make sure this career will be something they like? Is there practices they can do, online tutorials? What do you recommend?
I think there's such a wealth of information online that perhaps wasn't there when I was studying. And you can really deep dive into the skin and waxing and nails and brows and lashes. So you're given a lot more sort of visual information around what's there these days. But I really do, going back to just recommending, just getting some one-on-one experience in that industry. If the opportunity ever presents itself where you can just sit down and have a chat to another therapist, really understand what their workday looks like. You might be someone where your late nights and weekends are absolutely precious to you and you need a 9 to 5. And unfortunately, when you're in a service-based industry, that's not possible. Even I still, 20 years later, I'm still doing a late night a week for those clients. So yeah, I think really just talking to people and understanding what the career can look like, it gives you so much insight into what is possible for you.
And can I say, the insight you've given has taught me so much. Like in this 1 hour we've chatted, it's incredible. I was you. I was the naive one who thought, just a beauty therapist. Now I'm thinking you're like a bloody doctor, as well as a saviour. You're like a doctor of the soul. It's raising that whole inner feeling and value, which is incredible. So thank you so much for everything you've commented on today, your honesty. And yeah, I think a lot of young kids will get a lot out of what you've just said. Really.
Yeah, I hope so. I love what you guys are doing. The youth of today, it's so important that we're putting them into the roles that are the right fit for them. Really just giving them those tools to be able to make that transition into the workforce and really enjoy what they're doing. I want my children to be fulfilled with their career choice. I want them to be able to, do something fulfilling for the public, or, just really love what they do. And I think if I can get my kids to that point where they're doing something that they're passionate about, then, yes. Yeah. So, you want every person going through to be able to find what works for them, because it seems cliche to be like, it's not a job if you love what you do, but it's it's important. It's important to love what you do every day, and I'm very thankful that I get to do it. and get to be around women and supporting women. It's an amazing industry. So thank you for what you guys are doing. It's incredible.
Thank you, Victoria. Before I ask the sign-off question, is there something we didn't ask you? This is only an hour and you've got a whole life to pack into this, but is there any question we didn't ask that you think we should have?
No, I think we've really given it a good covering.
Fantastic.
Hopefully we've done it justice.
Oh,
You, Howie?
yeah, I was going to say echoing everything Ludlam said and more. It's very inspiring. You've given an honest account of what people need if they want to get into this industry. So just thank you. The last question, you've given a lot to other people, but if you could go back Victoria to Victoria when you were like 16, 17, what advice would you give to yourself specifically?
I think to myself, I would really, what would I say to them? I would say be confident in your belief system, because I think that's going to be what really progresses you in your career. If something doesn't fit right, it's probably for a reason. So really, really dig into that. If you have a question, ask it. Don't, take up space, because I think a lot of women don't want to take up space, especially when we're young. And I think you get to where you need to be quicker by asking the questions and doing the research yourself and being okay with having a loud voice and actually challenging people. Because if you do get into a situation or an industry or a work environment where they are setting the rules of what you have to do and it doesn't feel okay to you, it's probably not. And then that's a really good reason to maybe look for further opportunities. And I think with my first job that I had, it was amazing at what it did, but the clinic, there were red flags left, right, and centre. And I didn't plan on starting a business only 2 or 3 years in. I really, even now, I say to the girls, don't start a business straight away. Use that time at another clinic to practice on the clients. Don't let those be your forever clients. Ask the questions, do the training, practice on someone else's clients, for goodness sake. But at the end of the day, if you're in a situation where you don't feel that your beliefs are really valued and it aligns with you, then do your own thing.
Yeah, thank you, Victoria. We really appreciate it. You've been outstanding, and we just can't wait to get this out to kids in schools around the country. So best wishes for your business.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.